Xi Jinping receives stern warning from influential CCP figures. BlackRock's sudden exit, transparency and regulation woes in China. New legislation seeks to block CCP funding of U.S. universities. The Campus Act. China's proposed law sparks debate over freedom of expression. A morality meltdown. CCP party school scandals raise alarming concerns. Japanese PM and Chinese Premier Spar over nuclear-treated water issue. All will be covered today in China Undercover. You find our information helpful, please subscribe and turn on the notification. It will help us get more motivation to produce more quality videos. Now back to the news. Xi Jinping receives stern warning from influential CCP figures. In a recent editorial in Japan's Nikkei Asia, it's reported that Chinese President Xi Jinping faced criticism from senior members of the Chinese Communist Party CCP during a previous meeting at BIDIA. The author of this editorial, Katsuji Nakazawa, has substantial experience, having served as the former head of Nikkei Asia's China Bureau and worked as a correspondent in China for 7 years. Nakazawa reveals that before the BIDIA meeting, senior CCP members had a private gathering in the outskirts of Beijing. Surprisingly, many of these influential figures did not attend the subsequent BIDIA meeting, but instead sent representatives to convey their consensus to Xi Jinping. According to Nakazawa, the message conveyed by these senior CCP members was a warning that continued political, economic, and social turmoil in China could lead to a loss of public support, posing a threat to the party's rule. Their stern warning was clear. Things can't get any messier, reportedly. The key figure among this group of influential figures is Zhang Qinghong, the former vice president of China and an 84-year-old, who once served as a key aide to Jiang Zemin. Following the harsh criticism from the CCP elders, Xi Jinping also expressed his dissatisfaction, asking, "Have all the problems left behind by the past 3 leaders fallen on my shoulders? I've been working on solving these problems for the past decade, but they still haven't been resolved. Is the blame all on me?" Here, Xi Jinping refers to Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, and Hu Jintao as the 3 past leaders. Nakazawa points out signs of political turbulence within China. As an example, he mentions that China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs recently announced that Xi Jinping would not attend the G20 summit in India and would be represented by Premier Li Keqiang instead. Take Maya's interpretation is that Xi Jinping's decision to skip the G20 summit might be an attempt to avoid embarrassment because China's economy is facing difficulties, and its recent foreign relations have been in turmoil. BlackRock's sudden exit. Transparency and regulation woes in China. The world's largest asset management company, BlackRock, has suddenly announced the withdrawal of investments from China, drawing widespread attention. The U.S. Department of Commerce, the European Union, the UK, and Canadian Chambers of Commerce have all recently voiced concerns, pointing to the lack of transparency in the Chinese market and the excessive complexity of restrictions on foreign businesses operating in China. On Tuesday, September 5th, BlackRock sent a letter to its shareholders announcing the liquidation of the China Flexible Equity Fund on November 7th. The company provided 3 options for shareholders. 1. Switch to another BlackRock fund for free. 2. Redeem their shares before the November 7th liquidation date. 3. Automatically redeem their shares when the fund closes. Prior to this, BlackRock had already stopped new investments in the China Flexible Equity Fund since August 24, 2023. The news of BlackRock closing its China fund immediately sent shockwaves through the investment world. Denise Voss, chair of BlackRock Global Funds (NHRA), later explained that the main reason for the decision was the lack of interest from new investors, and the future prospects for significant subscriptions were also uncertain. Continuing to manage the China Flexible Equity Fund would only increase costs, which is not in the best interest of shareholders. In response to the situation, reports in the Hong Kong-based South China Morning Post suggest that foreign investors remain concerned about China's has increasing control over national security issues. They are waiting for policy changes and the impact of support measures while calling on China to enhance transparency to improve the business environment. On Monday, Noah Fraser, the managing director and chief representative of the Canada-China Business Council, bluntly stated during a panel discussion at the China International Fair for Trade in Services held in Beijing that Beijing's introduction of new data privacy and anti-espionage laws has led some international companies to isolate their operations in China, thereby inhibiting integration and foreign direct investment inflows. If China wants to better integrate into globalization and further open up, authorities must review these regulations. The recent enactment of China's anti-espionage law, combined with the sudden inspections and penalties imposed by China's national security agencies on several foreign consulting firms operating in China, has had a chilling effect on foreign investment in the Chinese market. Adam Dunnett, Secretary General of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China, also pointed out that many companies from new member states face cumbersome restrictions when doing business in China. Even small matters like hiring local employees in Beijing require the establishment of a local entity, incurring costs exceeding 1 million yuan. As a result, companies are forced to use third-party providers, leading to higher recruitment costs and diluted employee benefits. On Sunday, September 4th, US Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo, in an interview with CBS's Face the Nation, candidly stated that China is making it at acquiring American companies in China increasingly difficult. Raimondo emphasized that American companies operating in China should have a predictable business environment and a fair competitive environment, and these companies are losing patience with China. New legislation seeks to block CCP funding of U.S. universities. The Campus Act. U.S. Senator James Lankford has introduced a new bill called the Countering Adversarial Malicious Partnerships on Campuses by Uncovering Schemes Act, which aims to prohibit funding to U.S. universities and other educational institutions with ties to the Chinese Communist Party (CP). In an interview with Fox News, Senator Lankford said, "The CCP is undermining and challenging the United States, not only internationally but also within our own borders. They are infiltrating our education system, including universities and K-12 education, where they are disrupting American campuses, spreading false information, engaging in hacking attacks, theft, and propaganda." Lankford stated that Congress has identified Confucius Institutes as dangerous points of connection between American universities and Beijing. The CCP uses these affiliated schools to steal American innovation and influence the political views of students, faculty, and their families. With many Confucius Institutes closing down, the CCP is seeking new avenues to re-enter American campuses, including K-12 education and various colleges and universities. He noted that these targeted schools often have contracts with the government, and this bill will ensure that the CCP is kept out of the classroom and away from sensitive national security information. In addition, the bill requires the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Defense to determine each Chinese higher education institution that provides support to the CCP military, including those involved in implementing the CCP-LL'd civil-military fusion strategy. Within 180 days after the bill becomes law, a list of entities will be submitted to prohibit federal funding to entities, middle schools, or high schools on the list. The bill also allows the U.S. Secretary of State to deny non-immigrant visas to individuals involved in CCP civil-military fusion projects. China's proposed law sparks debate over freedom of expression. China's plans to amend its laws to penalize actions perceived as harming the spirit of the Chinese nation and hurting the feelings of the Chinese nation have sparked widespread criticism due to the lack of a clear definition. Many Internet users have criticized this as a convenient tool for labeling individuals as traitors or anti-government without specific criteria. In late August, the draft revision of the Public Security Administration Punishment Law was presented for review at the meeting of the National People's Congress Standing Committee. It introduced several new punishable behaviors. The draft includes Article 34, which imposes penalties on those who wear or display clothing or symbols in public places or compel others to do so that are considered harmful to the spirit of the Chinese nation or hurt the feelings of the Chinese nation. Similarly, individuals who produce, distribute, promote, or disseminate items or speech that is seen as detrimental to the spirit of the Chinese nation or hurtful to the feelings of the Chinese nation will face penalties. Those found guilty of the mentioned behaviors could be subject to detention for a period of more than 5, but less than 10 days or fined from over 1,000 RMB, approximately 137 to 3,000 RMB, about 410 USD. In cases where circumstances are more severe, the penalty could involve detention for more than 10, but less than 15 days, accompanied by a fine of up to 5,000 RMB, around 685 USD. However, the draft does not provide a specific definition of what constitutes harming the spirit of the Chinese nation or hurting the feelings of the Chinese nation. The public is currently invited to provide feedback with a deadline of September 30. Following reports by state media, Chinese social media and online communities have been flooded with criticisms and opposition. Many influential figures have urged Internet users to express their objections to the National People's Congress. Professor Kuai Weiao of Fudan University in Shanghai recently pointed out that there is currently no legal definition of the spirit of the Chinese nation in China. He expressed concerns about including such terms in the law hastily, without clear, specific definitions, which could lead to confusion in law enforcement and potential misuse of related charges. Kuai also worried that such a move might trivialize or diminish the concept of the spirit of the Chinese nation. Kuai questioned the use of the expression hurting the feelings of the Chinese nation, highlighting the uncertainty in determining how an act hurts the feelings of an entire nation. He raised concerns about the need for concrete evidence to determine the sentiments of the entire Chinese nation and the potential for misuse of such vague language. He suggested that authorities should be cautious about including such terms in the law. To ensure a strong legal foundation, there should be clear and specific definitions. Kuai emphasized that, in a legal context, clear definitions are crucial to prevent the abuse of related articles and to avoid serious judicial consequences. On social media platform Weibo, numerous verified users with large followings posed questions like, who decides what hurts the feelings of the nation? How is it measured? And what defines the spirit and feelings of the Chinese nation, and can a police officer make that determination? Many netizens questioned the feasibility of applying such subjective criteria and asked if consuming Japanese seafood or wearing Japanese-style clothing would be considered offenses. Many netizens criticized the draft as a typical pocket law, designed to label individuals as traitors or rebels. They stressed that blending law with nationalism and populism would result in subjective and unfair enforcement with concerning consequences. The proposed revision of the Public Security Administration punishment law is part of a broader trend in China, where recent legal changes have expanded police powers and limited individual freedoms. Critics argue that these developments bear similarities to the Cultural Revolution period, raising concerns about the erosion of civil liberties. Morality meltdown. CCP party school scandals raise alarming concerns. The Chinese Communist Party has been hit by a series of scandals during its training programs at party schools. Recently, official reports revealed several incidents of officials gathering for banquets and drinking during their party school training, leading to disciplinary actions and even dismissals. On September 6, the Xi'an Provincial Commission for Discipline Inspection and Supervision reported 2 separate incidents of officials dining and drinking during a training session at the Hunan Province Party School. In recent years, there have been repeated scandals involving officials during their training at party schools. Many CCP school attendees engage in excessive dining and drinking, form cliques, have others attend classes on their behalf. The Wall Street Journal reported that since taking office in late 2012, Jinping has targeted corruption within the party. In early meetings with high-ranking CCP officials, Xi warned them, saying, "You all either die at the wine table or in bed." In August 2019, Wang Junhua, the secretary of the village branch of Xi'an village in Xining County, Hunan Province, died after inviting the head of a county-level poverty alleviation unit for a drinking session. On the evening of October 10, 2018, 28 officials from the Kunfeng Township and Hiwangssi Township in Hongjiang City, Hunan Province, gathered for a drinking session, consuming 7 bottles of liquor, which resulted in the death of 39-year-old Kunfeng Township People's Congress Chairman Xiang Zhanming. On December 20, 2016, Feng Laoseng, Deputy Director of the Science and Technology Bureau of Yangzhou City, Hunan Province, attended 2 banquets during working hours, leading to his death from alcohol poisoning. In December 2015, Zhang Yan, commander of the 26th Group Army of the CCP, attended a drinking session with 2 subordinates, resulting in 1 person's death. Zhang Yan was subsequently demoted from a full general to a lieutenant general. A Hong Kong media article recently pointed out that CC party schools often serve as venues for officials to exchange corrupt practices and unethical information while drinking and dining. Many officials who have been implicated in corruption scandals have undergone training at these party schools. In recent years, many fallen officials have had party school training backgrounds. For example, Wang Sanyun, the former secretary of the Gansu Provincial Party Committee, had a postgraduate degree from the Central Party School and served as the Deputy Secretary of the Provincial Party Committee and the Director of the Party School of the Provincial Party Committee when he worked in Sichuan and Fujian. He was found guilty of embezzling nearly 1.4 billion yuan, approximately 216 million USD, and maintaining multiple mistresses. This pattern of misconduct has raised concerns about the influence of Marxism-Leninism and atheism in CC party schools, which could contribute to moral corruption and unethical behavior among officials. Critics argue that despite Xi Jinping's efforts to combat corruption, the party's disciplinary measures have been ineffective and internal strife remains a prevalent issue within the party. Japanese PM and Chinese Premier Spar over nuclear-treated water issue. At the ASEAN Summit, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Chinese Premier Li Qiang engaged in a dispute over the issue of discharging nuclear-treated water. This marked the first encounter between the leaders of Japan and China after Japan began releasing Fukushima's nuclear-treated water into the ocean. Kishida and Li briefly conversed before attending the summit. On the 6th of December, the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a press release in which Fumio Kishida provided an explanation regarding the disposal of Fukushima's nuclear wastewater during the summit. He emphasized that Japan is closely collaborating with the International Atomic Energy Agency and is presenting a scientifically based and highly transparent approach to explaining the situation to the international community. Kishida appealed to other countries for their understanding and support. On the other hand, as reported by Chinese Communist Party media, Li Qiang also clarified China's position on the issue of Japan's discharge of nuclear-treated water from Fukushima on the same day. Li Qiang echoed the party media's terminology by referring to Fukushima's nuclear-treated water as nuclear-polluted water and urged Japan to engage in full consultations with neighboring countries and other relevant stakeholders and handle nuclear-polluted water in a responsible manner. According to Nikkei Asia, Li Qiang and Fumio Kishida engaged in a heated exchange over the issue of discharging nuclear-treated water into the Pacific Ocean. Li Qiang criticized Tokyo during the summit and demanded that Japan handle the nuclear-polluted water issue responsibly. In response, Kishida reiterated Japan's position on the Fukushima nuclear-treated water discharge, advocating for a scientific dialogue and even calling on China to lift its ban on Japanese seafood products. Currently, Chinese Communist Party media and online forces continue to incite anti-Japanese sentiments within mainland China, particularly regarding the Fukushima nuclear wastewater issue. According to analysis by veteran self-media commentator Jiang Feng, the Chinese Communist Party's recent campaign against Japan serves multiple purposes. These include diverting the domestic population's attention away from the worsening economic situation, retaliating against Japan's pro-Taiwan and anti-communist stance, and sowing discord between Japan and South Korea. Guangfeng suggests that China is facing severe social problems and significant social unrest. The Communist Party seeks an external enemy to redirect the public's focus and diffuse pent-up grievances. Additionally, even formerly pro-Chinese communist political forces in Japan are openly supporting Taiwan, prompting China to manufacture conflicts, induce economic losses, and foster political discord in Japan. Moreover, the U.S. Japan-South Korea military alliance poses a significant threat to China, leading the Communist Party to attempt to inflame public sentiment in South Korea and sow discord between Japan and South Korea.
And that is today's episode. If you found this video informative, please subscribe and ring a bell to get notification. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.